Hi, my name is Emily, and today I'm going to be painting a cute little bird. And if you're going to follow along with me, these are the supplies you're going to need. You're going to need some watercolor paper. Today I am working on a 4x6 inch piece, cute little postcard size. You're also going to need some paints and a little place to mix in. Obviously my palette has a spot, but if yours doesn't, you can use an old yogurt lid or something else similar. You're also going to need some water. Promise mine is clean. A paper towel is nice to have on hand, as well as a little piece of scrap paper that you can test colors on as you're painting. You're also going to need a pencil and a paintbrush. And today I'm using a round paintbrush. I think this one is a size 8, but any paintbrush similar to this will work. Now, if you're using one of my watercolor kits or you're gathering your own supplies, your setup is probably going to look a little bit different than mine, and that's totally okay because we're just having fun. So the goal isn't to copy me exactly. It's just to make something that you're happy with. So let's hop right into it. First, I'm going to lay down just some little guidelines. I'm going to kind of draw it. So how I like to draw my little fun birds is I start with kind of a round shape, a circle, and this is going to become the head. I'm going to kind of do it right here on my paper. And then I like to kind of draw a line, bringing it down. I'm basically going to draw kind of like a teardrop shape right here. As you can see, it's going to kind of come down like this and so that circle becomes kind of a teardrop. And then I like to kind of draw his big belly, just like with a line and a curve right here. And I like my birds to be kind of fat and chunky because I think it's cute. I'm going to kind of draw another curved line on this side, and you can kind of see the shape of him. And then we're just going to do his tail, which is going to be kind of an oblong rectangle, as you can see. So it's kind of is a little bit wider at the base than right here. It's just kind of a rectangle shape. And then we're going to have a branch kind of come across that he's sitting on right here below his tail. And then some little claws. This is kind of our basic bird shape. I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to kind of erase some of these lines to make it a little bit so they don't show through. The other thing is, while you're drawing on your watercolor paper, you want to draw really light so that you don't put indents into your paper that are going to be places for paint to pool that you don't want. And also, drawing light makes it so that you don't have to worry about it showing through your watercolors. So just kind of keep that in mind. And then I'm just going to draw a little triangle right here for a beak. I'm going to draw a circle here for the eye. I'm just going to kind of adjust my shapes just a little bit until I'm happy with it. There we go. I think that's good. So mostly as you're just drawing this, I did it really quick and maybe it felt a little bit confusing. Just break it down into smaller shapes, like a circle, a curved line, teardrop, triangle. It doesn't have to be complicated, and yours doesn't have to look exactly like mine. You can draw a different bird shape if you want to look at a picture of a different bird and draw it from that. You totally can do that. Then I'm just going to go back in and I'm going to lighten up my lines just a touch because I don't want them to show through. So I'm just going to use my eraser and just lightly erase so I still see my lines, but they're not quite so visible. All right, now comes the fun part. So I'm going to start painting, and I think my favorite color is blue. So I think I'm going to do a little blue bird today. And I'm going to actually normally I use that blue, but I think I'm going to actually use a different blue than I normally use today. I'm going to go in with like a little bit of a greenish blue because I think that's fun. And you can use whatever blue you have on your palette. It doesn't have to be the same. You can also paint a different color bird if you want. So I'm just going to take this and I'm going to start by painting his little head. I might add in another color to this, but I'm just going to come in and paint his head. I'm going to paint that like a teardrop shape because I'm going to have his head be this color. And I'm just doing small little lines is how I'm painting. So then it kind of looks like feathers. And then I'm going to come down kind of his side so that we're kind of getting we're getting his head and then kind of his wing a little bit. And I might bring this blue a little further over. Okay, and then I want to add a little bit of a shadow while this is still wet. So I think I'm going to go in with I'm going to add a little bit of pink, like a reddish color to my blue, just to deepen it up just a little bit. Makes it kind of like a purpley color. And I'm just going to come drop that in here, kind of along this bottom edge. Maybe also just to kind of add some lines that kind of look like feathers. I think I'm pretty happy with that. I'm gonna rinse my brush off, and then I kind of want, let's go in and do his tail real quick. So I'm gonna do kind of the same thing, same colors with his tail. And I'm gonna paint in roughly the shape that we drew, but I don't want to just color it in. I want to make it look like tail feathers. So I'm gonna leave kind of some gaps at the bottom so that it looks like it's his feathers. And then I'm gonna add a shadow right here at the top using that same purpley blue color that we made. Just to kind of suggest a shadow, because there's going to be a branch right here. Okay, like that. And I can go in and add more detail later if I want. And then I think I want his little body to be kind of I think I'm going to do a little bit of a brownish color, but I'm going to add just a touch of yellow to this brown to lighten it up, just to kind of give me some shadows. And then I'm going to come in here, and this is going to be what I use for his belly. Now his belly is going to be, I want it to be kind of light, so I'm just going to come in here and use this brown yellow mixture just to kind of add kind of the shadows for the feathers. And the rest of this I'm gonna leave most of it white or a light color. So I'm gonna come in, I'm using I went in with my color, and now I'm coming in with just some water on my brush. So I don't really have any color on my brush now. And I'm just spreading out, kind of softening some of the edges here and spreading out my color a little bit, just so that it isn't so concentrated, but still has some texture here. And if I do a little too much painting, like I think I did right here, like a little too much paint, I want it to lighten up again, I can go in with my paper towel and dab some of that color up. And I might take some more of this blue, and this part is wet right here, so I just want to be really careful, because if I touch my wet paint to my wet paper, it's going to go all over the place. But I think I'm just going to I'm going to come down just a little further to kind of define this side of his body a little bit more, because I got kind of the yellowy shadows over here, but I want over here, I think I want it to be using my blue. I'm going to just soften up some of the edges that dried in here a little bit with some water on my brush, because my edges got a little hard as they dried. All right, there we go. Now I think I'm going to do while the bird dries, I'm going to do my branch. So I'm going to grab some brown, and it's going to kind of mix with this blue that I have here and kind of create some different textures. And I'm just gonna I want to do like a pine branch. So I'm going to use my brush to create kind of some like short little strokes that just give this branch a lot of texture. And I'm just gonna come up here and I'm gonna do another little section of this branch that's kind of coming out here. But you can see there's, again, short strokes create a lot of texture and highlights and stuff kind of on its own. So it looks kind of like a pine branch. And then I'm going to use my blue that I've been using to come in and just drop in some shadows. I really like how this brown and this blue mix together. It's one of my favorite painting combinations. We're just going to tap in some of this blue. If you don't have a brown, you can use different colors to mix it up. So you can use like basically you're looking for opposite colors on the color wheel. So like a blue and an orange, or a yellow and a purple, or a green and a red. All of those would create it. Or you mix all three of your primaries together and you just kind of can look at it and go, oh, this looks kind of too blue, so I'm going to add more red and more yellow. Or this looks too red or yellow, or whatever it is, and you can add more of the other color that's missing. And that just kind of helps you get the idea. I'm going to come in with a little bit more brown just to kind of add even more texture to this branch. The nice part about paints is that you can create, if you have the primary colors, you can pretty much create any color you're missing from it. You just have to know how to mix it. So then I'm gonna take some green, and actually I'm gonna mix my green so I kind of already have, this is the paints that I've been working with, and I already have some of them on my palette. I'm just gonna add a little bit more blue. That's the wrong blue that I have. This is the blue I've been using. Yep. Okay, I'm gonna add that one. I also like to keep myself, I think it's fun to kind of keep yourself to the same few colors, because it unifies your painting and it also gives you a little bit of a challenge, which I think is kind of fun. All right, so here we go. Here's my green. It's kind of a bright green. I'm gonna do a little bit more yellow. Still pretty bright. I'm gonna add a little bit of brown. Not that I don't like bright green, but I also want the bird to be the star. So I'm gonna make my green a little bit duller. And I'm just gonna come in and I'm gonna add in, I'm just gonna do some short little strokes, different lengths. Or I guess these are longer than the ones that I did for the branch though. And I'm just gonna come in and add in some pine needles on either side of my branches. I think I need some, I don't want needles kind of going over the bird a whole lot, but I feel like I need some more like framing in right here. So we're just gonna pretend like there's some pine needles that have stuck out of this part of the branch. And then down here. And then I can come in and drop in a little bit more color kind of at the base, just to add a little bit more depth to these needles. And I can even go in with like a slightly different shade. So I'm gonna go in with like a yellow just to add and then because this is still wet, it'll mix in, but it'll make things look add a little bit more texture to some of these spots. There we go. All right, now I'm just gonna kind of come in and do some final details on my little bird friend here. I'm gonna take a little bit more blue and just kind of add in some extra shadows, extra kind of feathery strokes real quick, especially kind of towards the bottom parts of things. like so. And then I'm gonna come in and give him a little beak with, I'm just gonna use some yellow. Actually, I think I'm gonna make some black. So I'm gonna use my blue and mix into everything else I've had. I'm gonna take some brown, because my brown kind of leans a little bit orange, so then it makes kind of a blackish color. And honestly, even if it's not a perfect black, it'll still give you that black. If you mix it dark enough, which means adding less water, more paint to it, then it will still kind of give that illusion of black. But there's my really dark black color. I'm just gonna come in here and really carefully, because different parts of my bird are still wet and I don't want this black to spread everywhere. I'm gonna give him a little beak, and then I'm gonna give him his eyeball. And as I'm painting his eyeball, I want to leave some white space kind of towards the back, so he looks like he has a little twinkle in his eye. And I'm going to come in and using the same black color and also give him his little claws on the branch. Claws, feet, whatever they are, on the branch. And there we go. There's our fun little bird. You can add some more texture to the background if you want, or finish it out however you want. But I think that's where I'm gonna stop. Thank you so much for painting with me, and I hope we get to do it again together soon. Bye.